Today, Emerging Voices. I'm Katrina Heyer from the Youth Research Institute. And to open up our event today, I'd like to ask Székely Levente Székely, the director of our institute, to deliver his opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Levente Székely, and it's my privilege and a great pleasure on behalf of the Youth Research Institute to welcome you here today. We are delighted to have you with us to participate in this conference entitled Emerging Voices, Perspectives from the Next Generation of Scholars in Youth Research. Young academics and youth-related topics. I do think that this is one of the best combinations in social science today. Last year, when we organized our very first international conference on youth culture, we decided to give a special opportunity to young scientists to present their research findings in a poster session, and the echoes were positive. This is the reason why we initiated the Emerging Voices Conference dedicated to young scientists. You know, as an academic institute dealing with young teams, we are searching for the possibility to work together with young academics. Of course, who else would do that? During the planning period, we agreed that if the conference is successful, we will organize it again in the future. It can easily be that you are one of the very first scholars to attend the Emerging Voices Conference, which will be a well-known opportunity for young academics in the future. We will work on it to let it happen. Today, we will have presenters from all over the world on the following topics: the impact and reception of AI technology and tools among youth, the challenges faced by contemporary education, youth political activism against the backdrop of upcoming and ongoing election campaigns in 2024, the rise of mental health challenges for young people over the past few years. So, a very warm welcome to every one of you. I think today will be fun and full of learning, and I wish you a great time. Thank you for your attention.
Our first block of presentations today will be about AI and the challenges youth face regarding AI. We'll be starting off with Evelyn Horváth's presentation, The Participation of Anthropomorphic Virtual Characters in Social Movements.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. My name is Evelyn Horváth. I am working as an external lecturer and a PhD student at Corvinus University of Budapest, and today's presentation is going to be about a case study I've conducted before, and it is about the inclusion and participation of human-like virtual characters in different social or political related movements, which are all targeting the youth here. So let's see a quick outline about the presentation. First of all, I'd like to give you a few words about one of the key words of this study, which is anthropomorphism, and also about the technological background of the creation of these virtual characters, which is CGI technology. Then I'm going to move on to the most important findings and results of the study. and give you a short conclusion and discussion about these findings. And finally, I'm just going to give you some further research opportunities, or I'm going to summarize how we can use these results, or how we can conduct further results-based or research based on them. So what are these virtual characters, honestly? As you can see in the pictures, these characters are completely human-like, and for the first sight, maybe you would see, or you would think, that these characters are real human beings. However, in reality, all of them are created with computer-generated technology, with different computer design softwares, and the most common use of these characters is the marketing field. They are used most commonly as, for example, influencers, virtual influencers, or different brand ambassadors in campaigns. And less commonly, but it is a very interesting field, sometimes they are included in social and political movements too, because we know that these virtual characters, as modern social media tools, can evoke very much attention, especially if the target group of a campaign is the youth, the Generation Z, the Generation Alpha, and sometimes the Generation Y as well. So what is anthropomorphism? Because I mentioned the word anthropomorphic virtual character quite a few times. Anthropomorphism is the attribution of non-human virtual, for example, robotic agents with absolutely human-specific characteristics. These characteristics can be physical, external characteristics, but another important factor is the internal characteristic part, because we very often attribute non-human agents with human-specific emotional states. We assume that they have feelings. We treat them as people, as persons, because they are physically or internalistically similar to us. So that's why anthropomorphism is a very human and very innate human trait or procedure to go through when we see an agent, a non-human agent, like virtual characters. And what is CGI technology? CGI is a very huge and very big umbrella term, because it includes both the manual generation of these characters with different softwares, but sometimes the background of these softwares is also AI technology, and it is completely automated, so we can't really differentiate between these different technological types, because there's a huge and very wide range of them. So what I examined and what I conducted was a case study, and I examined different actions here where in the kind of some political or social issue, a virtual character, a virtual influencer had been included in the campaign somehow. So the first one was a political related campaign in connection with Donald Trump and the American election. The second one was the right of black African American models and their possibilities in the model industry. The third one was quite a sensitive one. It was the #MeToo campaign. The fourth one was epidemic prevention in the time of the COVID era. And last but not least, a campaign plan. It wasn't an actual campaign. It was just a design, just a plan for a possible campaign of anti-e-cigarette use. So what I examined first, the most important part was the topic of the study, then the character traits that could be associated with the characters. So I examined both whether the physical appearance of these characters is well developed or not, and I was also dealing with the internal characteristics of the character, whether they also paid attention to design these internal character traits as well, and not only the appearance of the character was well developed. And then I also examined parasocial interaction. I don't know whether you're familiar with this term. Parasocial interaction is some kind of a psychological relationship between two people, but it is absolutely one-sided. So one side is the audience member's side, and the other side is some kind of, for example, famous person, an actor or an influencer, and the member of the audience feel that somehow they know this person. However, the other side is absolutely not a responsive site, so they don't know the member of the audience. So it's a one-sided, some kind of an imagined relationship or interaction between these two people. And last but not least, I also examined whether the media or the audience response was positive or negative to the inclusion of virtual characters in the examined campaigns. Maybe a little bit small this screen is, but hopefully you will see what were the main findings of my research, but I'm going to summarize it to you very quickly. So, as you can see in the first part, I examined the topic. I shortly summarized it for you in the introduction, so I'm going to pay attention more to the characteristics part. In most of the campaigns, only one campaign was an exclusion here. Also, the appearance and also the internal characteristics of the characters was well developed. What does it say to us? It says that it's very important in the case of these characters to design also the internal part of the character, not only the physical appearance, because like this, the character can remain authentic and similar to us and to the audience. And then I also examined the parasocial interaction. Parasocial interaction could be identified based on the comments in almost every of the cases, except the last one that I indicated with the blue color, because that wasn't an actual campaign. As I said, it was just a plan, so I couldn't examine the presence of parasocial interaction here. But all in the other cases, based on the comment section, the audience members treated these characters as human beings. They called them in their names. They tell their opinion about the campaign to them, so they treated them as real human beings and as if they were somehow in some kind of a connection or relationship with them. And lastly, the response of the audience or the media. Mostly, interestingly, the reaction was negative in most cases. And the problem I identified here is actually authenticity, because the audience members feel that somehow these virtual non-human agents are too far from us to include them in so human-typical movements. You know, when they are included in normal, everyday marketing campaign, advertising, for example, makeup stuff or technological related stuff, it's okay. But when it comes to so sensitive topics as social and political movements, which are so human typical and around us, then the virtual agents and the virtuality of these non-human beings can become a problem. And how can we solve this, and how can we use these virtual characters as a useful and successful marketing tool, even though they are not human beings? The only solution for this is if we use and see virtuality as the key of authenticity. I'm going to give you an example how can virtuality be a tool or be a key to authenticity. This is a campaign of a famous fashion magazine, the Italian Vogue, from a couple of years ago. They released an issue where they only illustrated all of the articles with artworks, with paintings, with drawings, and no real photographs had been used in this case. Why is it interesting? Because shooting such a big photo shoot or short film or everything for the fashion industry, it takes a lot of traveling of so many people. They use plastic plates and forks while shooting. Sometimes these reflectors, these lights they used are gasoline fueled. So all in all, the ecological footprint of creating a magazine like this is huge. However, what does it take to create a virtual character, to create a virtual model, for example, to illustrate a magazine like this? It only takes the work of some designers. You need electricity, computers, and that's all. No one has to travel. No one has to use these gasoline-fueled lights, etc. So it has such a small ecological footprint compared to a real photo shoot, compared to the creation of a real photo shoot. So the conclusion here is that, for example, in the case of green communication or every movement, social movements which are dealing with saving the environment or communicating about environmentally friendly solutions, virtuality can be the tool of authenticity. And based on my results, that's why I think that virtual characters could be used or can be used in the future as successful marketing tools in the case of environmental campaigns or green communication, and mostly if we are targeting the youth, because we know that they provoke much more attention, and for the youth they can be more engaging only because of their technological related nature or their novelty than a weekday everyday influencer. So that was the main conclusion I formed based on my results, and thank you very much for your generous attention. And I don't know whether we are going to have a comment section after the presentations or after the 3 presentations, Levente, but of course anytime I'm free for your questions, and thank you very much.
Our next presentation is Code Culture, Young Generations and the New Nowadays Fashionscape from Michele Varini from the Catholic University of the Sacred Heart in Milan.
So thank you so much, everybody, for having me here. It's a great pleasure. As Caterina said, I am Michele Varini, a PhD student from the Catholic University Milan. I'm co-working with the Moda Cult Study Center, so some sort of thing that have been presented right now is kind of familiar, especially the case of like Vogue Italia and the fashion editorial system. So I was really intrigued. Now let's get into the actual presentation. And basically, there's a lot of game-related stuff, so I hope that it's not like boring for some of you. Now, the actual fashionscapes is like changing faster and faster due to technological and digital innovations. Basically, fashion since the early beginning of the phenomenon is something strictly related to technological and industrial advancement. So it is nothing so new for the fashion studies to, kind of a glance into this kind of mix of both technology and fashion. But due to several disrupting events in the last years, such as the COVID outbreak and the increasing use of digital tools of many other peoples, a lot of changes, like a lot of disrupting changing is going on in the fashion system. Now, just to name a few, here are some sort of examples, like nothing new. For example, digital dressing rooms, but we can make a long list of items such as this one, for example, skins that can be used in social media to like change the makeup of your picture and so on and so good, but other more related to the supply chain, for example, optimize production and stock, or for example, a product customization that is something really game-changing also from the sustainability point of view, that can permit the fashion brand to product on demand and not make such huge stocks as in the past. Now, the literature in the fashion studies is pretty articulated. Let's take like a super glance, like super fast sight in this kind of topic. Now, basically there's this classical approach and this die-hard approach in the fashion theories, and they're more or less related to the very beginning of the discipline, starting from Georg Simmel, the fashion, in which the fashion is like kind of imagined as a complex system in which there are many more components than only the physical part of it. So there's like a cultural dimension in the fashion consumption and production. And it's very much related to some phenomena such as class distinction and ostentative consumption. And there's a more recent approach to fashion system which is more related to the possibilities of the fashion object and the fashion consumption of like express yourself. So there's a lot of studies about young subcultures and this form of expression, such as, for example, the punk movement or some sort of like the t-shirt movement. There are a lot of famous examples. We can like, one is like almost known to everybody is the case of the Smile t-shirt, also shown in the film Forrest Gump. So using the t-shirt as a tool to communicate something, not only to dress. And now we came to the research question I started in the very beginning of my PhD. So basically, we know a lot about the fashion consumption in the real world, like the physical fashion consumption. But nowadays, we live in a world that is more and more embedded and mixed with different kind of environment. One in all is the gaming environment. Why the gaming environment? Basically because in some cases, basically I focus my attention in a life simulator here. Users can move in a dimension where the physicality of the real world is totally in discussion. So it's a totally different kind of thing. And starting from this research question, basically I said, what happened to fashion and to fashion consumption in this new environment, where all the physical rules previously valid for the fashion system are like, have to deal with this new form of materiality. Now, this like awful video, it's from more than 20 years ago, and it came from Second Life. Basically, Second Life back in the very beginning of this millennium is the first attempt to create some sort of digital environment where there are a life simulation going on. As you can see, already more than 20 years ago, the possibilities in customizing avatars with dress and accessories were one of the primary fun part of the interaction. So dressing up your avatar, showing up to this community was part of the game in itself. And now we move on to the case in question for this research. The case is Animal Crossing. Basically, Animal Crossing is a series of video games developed by Nintendo. That's why I more or less themed all the presentation, like Nintendo themed the presentation. So you see the shape of the slideshow is the Nintendo Switch console, which is the tool you are required to own to play the game. Like during the pandemic, in the Italian context, there was a huge increase in the number of players of this platform. Basically, it responds to the need of social interaction that was forced to end up due to the lockdown. And also the age of the average user changed a little bit. So from super young and children to young people and young adults. And so also the use of the platform and of the game itself changed a little bit. Switch from basically from this kind of only a childish fun game to a real social interaction environment. Now, several experiments went on in Animal Crossing. Here you can see this is the main square of Milan, reproduced in the graphic of the platform, due to the Milano Fashion Week. So during the pandemic, due to the lockdown, the Milano Fashion Week chose to create a special show dedicated to Animal Crossing. So basically there was like a parallel Fashion Week, totally digital in the platform. Here you can see a picture of this phenomenon. So basically fashion start to put a glance, put a step into the digital environment, and so users create, reproduct, and so on and so on. Now there's a little piece of a video from the show in itself, and as you can see, there's everything as in a real life fashion show. So there's the catwalk, there's the public, there's the light photographers, and all sort of like fashion professionals. And of course, there are dresses. These dresses are basically inspired to real dress. Now there are different like practice you can develop inside the platform. You can craft your own object, your own dress, or you can buy some pre-made dresses. And like some digital artists and some fashion brands developed collection, both inspired to real items, like to material items, and both dedicated to the platform. So not existing in the material version, only the digital one. Now, I decided to explore this field, trying to reach out for the user-generated content, because working on the classical top-down dynamic used by fashion media and fashion gatekeepers was not so interesting for me in this case. So basically I start using an ethnography. I start to scrape several user-generated productions, starting from a profile, like a huge profile dedicated to Animal Crossing fashion sharing. Now the profile in question is, this one is called Animal Crossing Fashion Archive and is owned by this digital artist called Kara Chung, which is more or less a kind of a professional in developing Animal Crossing collection for brands and for fashion gatekeeper player. So she developed this place, which is also not only a dress, but also a physical place dedicated in the platform to this kind of practice. Here you can see it's like a real life fashion shop, basically translated inside the platform. Starting from the Karachung profile, I start to scrape and I show you some picture because I think it's more clear when you see it. So basically, here all the picture are user-generated content. So it's pretty clear that the aim here is to imitate, to recreate something already existing. And there's also the screenshot for the code you are required to put in the platform to create your own version of this piece of garment. Now, I only show like a couple of pictures, but there's a huge amount of this kind of user-generated content. So it starts to trigger in my mind the reason. What is the reason of this like focus on imitation? Because basically we are talking about an environment where the possibilities are countless. User can craft and produce whatever they want, and they can be free. Maybe from also material and physical bonds, you can create, for example, pieces of garment that are not responding to the law of the physics. They can fly, they can levitate, so on and so good. So why keeping on reproducing the same, stereotypes and the same sort of fashion consumption dynamics also in this world, which is completely different? For this reason, I used this material, graphic material I scraped from the main core of the research, so the ethnography, and I start to interview some young gamers, and in this case, there's a sort of a bias because I managed only to get in touch with young players from the Italian context, so basically starting from a Facebook community dedicated to fans of the Digital Crossing New Horizon platform. I managed to get in touch with them, and I managed to interview 16 of them by now. And it's cool that basically there are so many different reasons for this sort of consumption, but almost everyone from 18 to 26 I interviewed recognized the item I showed them, because there's a kind of a new developing new evolution of the fashion consumption. So we turn from the physical dimension, we move more towards a cultural dimension of consumption. For example, in the place I showed you before, the Net-a-Porter one, the players are strictly fashion addict. So to get involved in the community, get involved in the play in these specific places, you are required to have like a solid knowledge of fashion and of fashion system. You have to be updated. So basically, the economic dimension of consumption is changed towards a more cultural consumption. They use in-game resources instead of real money, but the trigger point of the fashion consumption is cultural, is no more economical, and it's still related to these classic dynamics of distinction and ostentative consumption. It's no more related so strictly to the economical dimension. So thank you so much for your attention. I mean, it's pretty obvious that the interview part of the study is still ongoing because the numbers are not numbers enough to arrive to some sort of conclusion. I can only trace a sort of a beginning observation about the Italian context and of this particular age, so from 18 to 24. But it will be like kind of interesting to expand maybe to other countries or maybe to other culture, the same material and the same research. So that's more or less what I'm aiming for in the future for this research.
Thank you very much. And our last presentation in this block will be from Nilotpal Bhattacharjee from the Department of Mass Communication at the Assam University in Silchar, India. It's titled Behind the Filter, a study on the effects of Instagram selfies on body image perception in young Indian females.
A warm good morning to each and every one of you present here. Ladies and gentlemen, let me whisk you away to our bustling city street on a Saturday afternoon. As the hustle and bustle of urban life swirls around us, a group of friends gathers in a cozy cafe, seeking refuge from the chaos outside. With steaming cups of coffee and the freshly baked pastries filling the air, the group settles into a corner and their attention captivated by the glow of their smartphones. One of the members of the group poses a question that cuts through the chatter like a ray of sunlight piercing through clouds. Have you ever stop to wonder if our social media platforms or the social media profiles are the modern day mask we wear? The question hangs in the air, sparking lively debate among the friends. As they delve into the complexities of online identity and self-presentation, they realize that the digital personas they project may not align with the true selves. And this is nothing but a revelation, a glimpse of the facade of social media. Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand here to talk about the impact of Instagram selfies on the young adult women in India. As you know that Instagram is has become the most user-friendly, or it has the most number of users. It's very ironic that I come from India and I stand here to speak about Instagram because we are the people who have the maximum number of users on Instagram. So we even beat the United States, and we have around 362.9 million users on Instagram. Why I choose only female as part of my study? I choose because there is a theory called objectivity theory. And that theory says that because of a kind of prejudice, a kind of biasness towards women, the women actually, they get judged from a very nascent age. And as they are judged from the nascent age, they also start thinking about the people, how people think, what people think. And when they post a selfie, when they post a picture on the social media, they also seek validation. And validation is nothing but a kind of reinforcement that your physical appearance is much more important than what you truly are. As you can see that there is a selfie fever all across the world, especially in India. And there was a study in 2022, and it shows that the number of selfie deaths is much more than the people died because of the shark attack. You might not be aware that in 2013, selfie was the word of the year by Oxford Dictionary. And what is selfie? Is nothing but a self-portrait. I just did a search on Instagram, hashtag selfie, and I came across 451 million photos tagged with selfie, 17.4 million with selfie time, and 2.9 million with selfie queen. That's a whole lot of selfies. Now here you can see the selfie madness, especially in India. You can see that the first picture, the 3 people who met with a road accident succumbed to injuries even as onlookers clicked pictures and selfies instead of helping them. The second one, that boy, he actually wanted to take a selfie with a running train. And then the train hit him so hard that he succumbed to his injury. The number 3, you can see that our Prime Minister, Modi, so the ruling party has actually posted different pictures, the cutouts, the placards of the Prime Minister Modi everywhere all across India. And you can see how the party activist members are seeking selfie with the placard. And the number 4, you can see that Mumbai girls fall into a sea while clicking selfie remains untraced. Now coming to the research. So I carried out a research to understand how these selfies, Instagram selfies, impact the mental health of young women. So these are the research questions I have. I try to understand that what are the motivations behind young adult posting selfies on Instagram? Why do young adult women post selfies on Instagram? What are their experiences? And do they seek anyone's approval before posting a picture on their social media account? It's a qualitative study. So here you can see that the sample is of 39 young women within the age group of 20 to 30, because we have seen in the past research that the age group that belong to 20 to 30, they are the most number of, they have the maximum presence on the Instagram. So that's why I thought to take the young adult women. Initially, I had an idea to take 40, but then there was one respondent, she did not turn up. So we had around 39, and the data collection, it was in-depth interviews. So as it is a qualitative studies, the interview was basically in person. I carried out that research in 2 public universities in Assam. It's located in the northeastern part of India. And they are the people who belong to the communication department. So I choose communication because I realized that they could have a kind of media literacy, yes, because they are the students of mass communication, and media. So now coming to the theoretical framework, I try to put my entire research into 2 main theories. One is uses and gratification theory, and number second is the social comparison theory. What is uses and gratification theory? Uses and gratification theory is a theory that talks about why an individual uses media. Although it was used especially for broadcast, for print, for radio, but this particular theory of 1950s is still relevant today. How is it so? Today, we get a lot of gratification by using social media. That gratification can vary from person to person. It could be informational, it could be entertainment, it could be attention seeking, it can be projecting yourself. So the gratification is there. So an individual might get the gratification by scrolling his or her own feed. So that's why I try to understand what is the motivation behind using Instagram and behind posting picture on Instagram. The number second is very important. It's called the social comparison theory. It was given by Festinger in 1954. Festinger said that it is our biological tendency to compare ourselves with others. And sometimes when we compare ourselves with someone whom we think is much superior than us, it's called the upward comparison. When we compare ourselves with the people whom we consider are not as good as we are, it's called the downward comparison. So in most of the cases in my study, I came across that the respondents, they compare themselves with the celebrities. They compare themselves with the Instagram influencers. They compare themselves with the people who have followers in millions. Now, out of 39, it's seen that around 12 participants said that they spend less than 30 minutes. 30 minutes to 1 hour said 17 people, 1 to 2 hours 7, and more than 2 hours 6. Here are the motivations for using Instagram. So these are the motivations: self-promotion, entertainment, seeking validation or attention, documentation, and pastime. So for example, you can see that here, what is self-promotion? So one lady said that to show my friends the good things about my life. So almost participants 6, 10, 11, they talked about it. Some participants said that to show my dance moves. I'm a trained dancer, singer, or photographer. Entertainment, some people said that they love to watch reels and trendy videos. Some said to follow Bollywood gossip. Bollywood needs nothing but Indian film industry. As we believe in following West, so as West has Hollywood, we have Bollywood. Then seeking validation or attention, to get attention from my followers. Some said I want to become an influencer and love people's attention. Documentation, some said that it is the best place for documentation. I post pictures on Instagram to keep it a memory. And some said to beat the boredom. So these are the frequency of clicking selfies. Around 21 participants said that they click selfies once a week. 6 said a few times a week. 2 said monthly, and 10 said rarely. These are the post frequency of posting selfies on Instagram. You can see that 6 said a few times a week, monthly is 10, once a week 3, and 20 said rarely. And here you can see that motivations for posting selfies, so out of 39, that attention seeking comes first. So most of the respondents said that they seek attention from the people, and that's really problematic when it comes to impacting the mental health. A few said communication, very few said archiving, and entertainment, only a few. Here are some examples. Some said that I use selfies to promote my creative endeavors. I love it when I get positive feedback about my eyes. So that's a very problematic here, that I get positive feedback. The word positive is very heavy loaded, and it might impact one's mental health when that individual gets which is not so positive according to her. Selfies capture the eyes beautifully, as selfies are clicked from proximity from the body. The next one said that I post selfies and then my friends react to it. This process leads to communicating with friends once in a while. Nowadays, we do not get time to talk to friends, so whatever someone posts, something we react. The next one said that through selfies, I'm in touch with my followers. The next one said, I'm a fitness enthusiast. I love to share selfies on Instagram, as this helps me track my progress and stay accountable to my health goals. Some said that she finds joy in posting selfies with her pets. They are so cute. Sometimes I use different filters and post funny selfies. The next one I found really interesting, that posting selfies make me happy because I love taking selfies. So you can see a lot of examples here. So here is a question about the impact of posting selfies on body image satisfaction. So one lady said that I click many selfies just to get the perfect one. This process is sometimes frustrating if I don't get the perfect selfie. This sometimes affects how I see myself. So that is impacting the mental health. One individual said that when I see someone has posted a selfie that has come so well, I immediately try to click some self-portraits on my mobile. But my selfies are not as good as my friends, so I delete these and feel a bit dejected. Some said that I compare my pictures with others, especially celebrities on Instagram, and try to emulate them. I just wonder how they get perfect sun-kissed photos, and it is frustrating. The next one is interesting. A student of masters belonged to a very poor family. She did all the hard work just to buy an iPhone so that she gets a good selfie. And here are a lot of statements from them. Now, before I go to the conclusion, as I've mentioned, as I've delved into the issue of selfie and the mental health, what is the way forward? According to me, the way forward is media literacy and education. And what I feel as a researcher is that there is a need to introduce media literacy program in school curricula. Why is it so? We live in a world which is completely digital. Everything we do is part of our digital life. And one student, one individual who is going to school, who is going to college, needs to understand the social algorithm, the algorithmic biases. As we know the concept of filter bubble. What is filter bubble? Filter bubble means when you like a particular post either on Facebook or Instagram, it is more likely that you will get the posts that are aligned with the ideology or the feeling that you have. So sometimes you might have wondered that you have missed to wish some of your friends' birthday because it did not appear on your feed. It is because you might not have liked his or her post for a long time, and that's why it did not appear on your feed. And this is called filter bubble. So people need to understand the concept of filter bubble. People need to understand the problems with the algorithmic biases. People need to understand the echo chamber that we live in today in digital worlds. The second important thing to prevent the mental health impact is the body positivity. We need to highlight the importance of body positivity. We need to embrace the way we are. It doesn't matter whether you are white, we're black, we're brown. It doesn't matter whether short, tall. Doesn't matter. You need to embrace the way you are. And the students need to understand these simple facts, because what I feel is that the social media regulation cannot stop one individual from using social media. And when it comes to the whopping number of 362 million, a government is not possibly ready to regulate these number of users. So, as we have discussed about the mental health, and during my study, I have talked to these young ladies, and they said that mental health is an issue that they often come across. They are facing certain issues related to mental health. They are not mentally right. And these seeking validation from people is really impacting. One individual, I would like to add that one individual said that before posting a photograph on social media, she sends to 4 to 5 friends of her to get an approval, whether it's a right one, whether it's a good one, whether she is looking good, and whether it is good enough to be posted on social media. So in a way, this is impacting the mental health, and there is a way forward, and we need to understand these issues. With this, I have come to the end of my presentation. If you have any question, if you have any doubt, you are welcome to ask me. Thank you everyone for your patience hearing. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your attention in the audience, and thank you so much to all of our presenters who have spoken so far today. We've finished a little bit before time is up, so our snacks will be ready in, I think, 10-15 minutes. So please be patient with us, and then this break will be a little longer, so that we'll be back here around 11:30. Okay, and that's everything. Thank you.